The classroom clock ticked steadily toward 9:30 on a Tuesday morning, its second hand moving in perfect rhythm with the whispered conversations of second graders. 23 children sat at their desks, heads bent over worksheets filled with addition problems. 23 children, except one. In the third row by the window, 7-year-old Lily Martinez stood beside her desk, pencil gripped tightly in her small hand, eyes fixed on the math problems before her. Her dark hair fell in 2 neat braids down her back, and her school uniform looked freshly pressed. But something about the way she held herself made Ms. Rebecca Harper pause mid-sentence at the whiteboard. The teacher's marker hovered in the air as she watched the little girl shift her weight from one foot to the other, a barely perceptible movement that spoke of discomfort. "Lily," Ms. Harper said gently, her voice cutting through the soft murmur of pencils scratching paper. "Sweetheart, you can sit down now. We're working quietly at our desks." The child's head lifted slightly, brown eyes meeting the teacher's for just a moment before dropping back to her worksheet. "I'm okay, Ms. Harper. I can work standing up." Several children around Lily glanced up, curious about the exchange. Marcus from the next desk over whispered loud enough for others to hear, "Why's she always standing? That's weird." His comment earned a few giggles before Ms. Harper raised her hand for silence. "That's enough, Marcus. Everyone focus on your own work." But even as she redirected the class, Ms. Harper's attention remained on Lily. This wasn't the first time, she realized with a growing sense of unease. In fact, as she mentally reviewed the past 2 weeks, she couldn't recall seeing Lily sit at all during class time. The girl had stood through morning announcements, through reading circle, through art projects, and even during the class movie they'd watched on Friday afternoon. How had she not noticed this pattern more clearly before? The morning stretched on, and with each passing hour, Miss Harper's concern deepened. During reading time, when the other children sprawled on the colorful carpet with their books, Lily stood at the edge of the group, book held carefully at eye level. When it was time for art class, she worked at her desk, standing while classmates sat on stools around shared tables. At recess, Ms. Harper watched through the window as Lily stood near the playground equipment, declining to use the swings or slides that required sitting. The girl wasn't being disruptive or difficult. She completed all her assignments, answered questions when called upon, and interacted politely with her classmates. But she absolutely would not sit down. Before we dive deeper into what Ms. Harper was about to discover, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy educational stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. When the lunch bell rang, Ms. Harper made her decision. She waited until the other children filed out toward the cafeteria, their voices echoing in the hallway as they chattered about trading snacks and playground games. Lily began to follow them, moving carefully, almost stiffly. "Lily, honey, can you stay back for just a minute?" Ms. Harper kept her tone light, friendly, the way she would ask any student to help her with a simple task. "I'd like to talk to you about something." The girl froze mid-step, and Ms. Harper could have sworn she saw fear flash across those young features before Lily turned around, face carefully blank. "Am I in trouble, Ms. Harper?" "No, sweetheart, not at all. I just wanted to check in with you." Ms. Harper pulled her desk chair around to the side of her desk and sat down, gesturing to one of the student chairs nearby. "Come sit with me for a moment." Lily approached slowly, each step deliberate and measured. When she reached the chair, she stood beside it, small hands gripping the back of it. "I can talk, standing up. Is that okay?" "Monsieur..." Harper studied the child more closely now, without 22 other students requiring her attention. Lily's uniform was immaculate as always, but the teacher noticed how the girl held herself rigid, as if any slight movement might cause pain. Dark circles shadowed the skin beneath her eyes, subtle but present. The kind of shadows that came from poor sleep, from nights filled with worry or worse. "Lily, I've noticed that you haven't been sitting down in class. For quite a while now, actually. 2 weeks at least. Can you tell me why?" The child's knuckles whitened as her grip on the chair tightened. "I just like standing better. It helps me think. My dad says standing is good for posture." It was a rehearsed answer, delivered too quickly, too perfectly. Ms. Harper had been teaching for 12 years, long enough to recognize when a child was repeating words that had been fed to them. Standing can be good sometimes, but sitting is important too. Don't your legs get tired? Don't you want to rest during story time or when we're watching something? "I'm okay. Really." Lily's voice remained steady, but her eyes had taken on a glassy quality, as if she were fighting back tears. "Can I go to lunch now? I'm hungry." Miss Harper wanted to press further, but she also knew that pushing too hard could shut a child down completely. "Of course, honey. Go get your lunch. But Lily, I want you to know that if something is wrong, if something is bothering you, or if you're hurt somehow, you can tell me. I'm here to help you, not to get you in trouble. Do you understand?" Lily nodded quickly, too quickly, and turned toward the door. As she walked away, Miss Harper noticed it again, that careful, stiff movement, the way the girl seemed to be walking on eggshells, both literally and figuratively. The teacher watched her disappear into the hallway, and a cold feeling settled in the pit of her stomach. Something was very wrong here. She just didn't know what yet. During her lunch break, while her students ate in the cafeteria, Miss Harper pulled up Lily's file on her computer. The girl had been a student at Riverside Elementary since kindergarten, now in 2nd grade. Her academic record was solid, grades consistently good, no behavioral issues noted. Previous teachers had described her as quiet, diligent, sometimes shy but always respectful. Her father, Martin Martinez, was listed as the primary guardian. Mother was listed as deceased, passed away when Lily was 4. There were no notes about medical conditions, no documented injuries or concerns. On paper, everything looked normal. But Ms. Harper had learned long ago that paper didn't tell the whole story. She made a note to herself to observe Lily more carefully, to document what she was seeing. If her suspicions were correct, if this child was suffering somehow, she would need evidence, documentation, a clear record of concerning behaviors before she could involve the school counselor or, if necessary, outside authorities. The afternoon brought more of the same. Science class required students to sit at lab tables, while Ms. Harper demonstrated how plants absorbed colored water through their stems. Lily stood at her table, leaning heavily against it as if using it to support her weight. During the demonstration, when Ms. Harper asked students to sit so everyone could see, Lily remained standing at the back, craning her neck to watch. Another student complained that Lily was blocking their view, and Ms. Harper had to rearrange the seating to accommodate both Lily's refusal to sit and the other students' need to see. In the teacher's lounge after school, Ms. Harper caught Mr. Patterson, the PE teacher, before he left for the day. "Hey, Tom, quick question. Do you have Lily Martinez in your class? 2nd grader, long dark braids, very quiet?" Tom nodded, slinging his gym bag over his shoulder. "Yeah, I've got her on Wednesdays and Fridays." "Why? Have you noticed anything unusual about her behavior? Anything that struck you as odd?" The PE teacher paused, thinking back. "Actually, now that you mention it, she hasn't been participating much lately. Sits out during most activities. Says she doesn't feel well or that she forgot her gym clothes. I've been meaning to send a note home about it, but haven't gotten around to it yet. Is something going on?" Ms. Harper felt her concern deepen into genuine alarm. "She tells you she sits out?" "Yeah, she sits on the bleachers and watches." "Why?" Because in my class she refuses to sit at all, stands all day every day for at least 2 weeks now. Tom's eyebrows rose. That's strange. You think something's wrong? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. That evening, Ms. Harper couldn't shake the image of Lily standing alone in her classroom, small hands gripping the edges of her desk, eyes carefully guarded against questions she didn't want to answer. The teacher had seen many things in her 12 years of working with children. She'd seen kids dealing with divorce, poverty, learning disabilities, social struggles. She'd helped students through grief and family upheaval. But something about Lily's situation felt different, more sinister. The way the child moved so carefully, the fear in her eyes when asked to explain her behavior, the perfectly rehearsed responses that felt like they came from an adult's script rather than a child's genuine thoughts. Rebecca Harper poured herself a cup of tea and opened her laptop, pulling up resources on recognizing signs of child abuse. She'd had training on this during her credential program and regular refresher courses provided by the district, but she wanted to review the specific indicators again. As she read through the lists of physical and behavioral warning signs, her heart sank. Refusing to sit could indicate injuries to the buttocks, lower back, or thighs. Stiff, guarded movements suggested pain. Reluctance to change clothes for PE or resist physical examinations could mean hiding something. Fear of a parent, rehearsed answers to simple questions, withdrawal from activities once enjoyed. These were all red flags that mandated reporting. But Ms. Harper also knew she needed to be careful, objective. Not every unusual behavior meant abuse. Children sometimes went through phases, dealt with things in unexpected ways. She couldn't jump to conclusions based solely on 2 weeks of standing and a feeling in her gut. She needed more information, clearer evidence. Tomorrow, she decided, she would document everything she observed more carefully. She would speak with the school counselor, Mrs. Chen, and get her professional input. And if necessary, if her concerns proved valid, she would do what the law required of her as a mandatory reporter and contact Child Protective Services. What Ms. Harper didn't know yet, as she sipped her tea and reviewed resources late into the evening, was that tomorrow would bring a moment that would shatter any remaining doubts about whether intervention was needed. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, Lily's carefully constructed wall of silence would crack, and the truth hiding behind it would come spilling out in a way that no one in that second-grade classroom would ever forget. Wednesday morning arrived with gray skies and the threat of rain. Miss Harper arrived at school early, as was her habit, using the quiet time before students arrived to prepare lessons and organize materials. But today her mind wasn't fully on multiplication worksheets or the science experiment they'd planned for the afternoon. Today she was watching for a 7-year-old girl with dark braids and secrets hidden beneath her neat school uniform. The children began trickling in around 8:15, backpacks bouncing, voices loud with excitement about a spelling test they'd apparently all studied for together online the night before. Lily arrived at 8:20, walking through the classroom door with that same careful gait Miss Harper had noticed yesterday. The girl hung her backpack on her hook, retrieved her homework folder, and went straight to her desk, where she stood, waiting for morning announcements to begin. Ms. Harper made detailed notes throughout the morning. 8:25. Lily standing during announcements. 8:40. Students instructed to sit for morning journal writing. Lily remains standing, hunched over her desk at an awkward angle to write. 9:15. Reading groups rotate to the carpet. Lily stands at the edge, holding her book. 9:50. Math lesson begins. Students asked to sit at desks. Lily standing. The pattern was undeniable and consistent. During morning recess, Ms. Harper sought out Mrs. Chen, the school counselor, in her office. Sandra Chen had been working with children for 20 years, and her calm, professional demeanor had helped countless students through difficult situations. She listened carefully as Ms. Harper explained her observations about Lily, taking notes and asking clarifying questions. "How long has this been going on?" Mrs. Chen asked. "At least 2 weeks that I've noticed clearly, but possibly longer. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't pick up on the pattern right away. With 23 students, sometimes individual behaviors can blend together until they become really pronounced. Don't beat yourself up, Rebecca. You noticed, and you're taking action. That's what matters." Mrs. Chen pulled up Lily's file on her computer. "I see she lost her mother 3 years ago. Father is the sole guardian. No siblings, no previous concerns noted in her records. But that doesn't mean nothing's wrong. Let me see if I can pull her out for a casual conversation this afternoon, just to check in. Sometimes kids will talk to a counselor about things they won't tell their teacher." "Thank you, Sandra. I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope there's some simple explanation, some medical reason or something innocent that explains everything." Mrs. Chen's expression was kind but realistic. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. If your instincts are telling you something is wrong, they're probably right. Teachers develop a sixth sense about these things. The conversation with the counselor helped ease some of Ms. Harper's anxiety, knowing she wasn't handling this alone anymore, but it also confirmed that her concerns were valid enough to warrant professional attention, which somehow made the whole situation feel more real and more frightening. At 11:30, Mrs. Chen came to the classroom and asked if Lily could come to her office to talk about some fun activities they were planning for second graders next month. It was a gentle, non-threatening invitation, and Lily agreed without hesitation. Ms. Harper watched them leave together, the tall counselor walking slowly to match the little girl's careful pace, making conversation about the cloudy weather and whether it would rain during lunch. 40 minutes later, Mrs. Chen returned to the classroom alone, her expression troubled. She gestured for Ms. Harper to step into the hallway. The teacher left her students with instructions to read silently at their desks and joined the counselor outside. "She wouldn't open up," Mrs. Chen said quietly, glancing through the classroom door window to make sure no students were nearby. "I tried every approach I know: casual conversation, direct questions, art therapy, play therapy techniques. She's completely shut down. When I asked her about standing in class, she gave me the same line about posture and thinking better. When I asked if anyone at home ever hurt her, she became very agitated and insisted everything was fine. She kept saying her dad would be angry if he knew she was talking to me, that he doesn't like when she tells people about their family business." Ms. Harper's stomach clenched. "That sounds like exactly what an abused child would say." "It does. But without physical evidence or a disclosure from the child, it's hard to move forward with a report. I can't call CPS based solely on a kid standing in class and being worried about her father's reaction to talking to a counselor. Unfortunately, that's not enough for an investigation. We need something more concrete." "So, what do we do?" "We keep watching. We document everything. And we hope that if something is happening, it comes to light soon so we can help her." Mrs. Chen paused, then added, "I'm going to make some discreet inquiries with her previous teachers, see if they noticed anything I might have missed in the records. And Rebecca, trust your instincts. If you see anything at all that gives us cause for immediate concern, you come find me right away. Don't wait. Don't second-guess yourself. Just come get me." The rest of the day dragged by with agonizing slowness. Miss Harper found it difficult to concentrate on lessons, her attention continually drawn to Lily standing at her desk, working diligently on assignments, never complaining, never asking for special accommodation. The other children had mostly stopped commenting on her behavior, accepting it as just something Lily did, the way some kids always wore the same color shirt or always wanted to be line leader. At 2 o'clock, during independent reading time, Ms. Harper made a decision. The students were settled, most of them sprawled on the carpet with books or sitting at their desks. Lily, of course, stood near the bookshelf, reading a chapter book about horses. The classroom had that peaceful, quiet energy that came when children were genuinely engaged in something they enjoyed. "Class," Ms. Harper said softly, "I need everyone to do something for me. We're going to have quiet reading time, but I'd like everyone to be seated. At your desk, on the carpet, anywhere you'd like, but sitting down. This is good for your bodies, gives your legs a rest, and helps you focus on your stories." 22 children adjusted positions, finding comfortable spots. Lily remained standing. "Lily, honey, that includes you. I'd like you to sit down for reading time. Please." The girl's head lifted, eyes wide, and Miss Harper could see panic flash across her features. "But Miss Harper, I'm okay standing. I like it better." "I know you do, sweetheart, but I'm asking you to sit this time. Just for 20 minutes while we read. You can choose any spot you'd like, but you need to sit down." Around the room, several students had stopped pretending to read and were watching the interaction with open curiosity. Lily looked around at them, then back at her teacher, trapped. Her breathing had quickened and her hands trembled slightly as she closed her book. "I can't," she whispered. Miss Harper rose from her desk and approached gently, keeping her voice low so the other students couldn't easily hear. "Why can't you, Lily? Tell me what's wrong." "I just can't. Please don't make me." "Please." Tears welled up in the girl's eyes, threatening to spill over. This was it, Miss Harper realized, the moment of truth. She could back off, let Lily continue standing, maintain the fragile status quo. Or she could push, gently but firmly, and potentially break through whatever wall this child had built around her pain. The teacher made her choice. "Lily, I need you to try. Come sit on the carpet right here, next to my desk. I'll sit with you." Ms. Harper lowered herself to the floor, patting the carpeted space beside her. "Come on, sweetie, just try for me." The other children were definitely watching now, books forgotten. Lily stood frozen, tears now streaming down her cheeks, small chest heaving with barely suppressed sobs. Miss Harper's heart broke for her, but she held firm, waiting, giving the child space to make the choice herself. Finally, moving as if every step caused agony, Lily walked to where Miss Harper sat on the floor. The teacher could see the girl was shaking, whether from fear or pain or both. Lily looked down at the carpeted floor, then at her teacher, then at the 22 other faces watching her. She slowly began to lower herself down, bending at the knees, lowering her body inch by careful inch. The moment her bottom touched the floor, Lily screamed. It was a sharp, piercing cry of pure pain that shattered the quiet of the classroom and sent several students jumping to their feet in alarm. The little girl immediately tried to stand back up, but her legs seemed to give out beneath her, and she collapsed forward, sobbing uncontrollably, curled on her side on the carpet. "Oh my God, Miss Harper breathed, immediately pulling the child into her arms, careful not to touch her lower body. "It's okay, baby. It's okay. I've got you." To the class, trying to keep her voice steady despite her racing heart, she said, "Everyone stay calm. Marcus, go next door and ask Mr. Patterson to come here right away. Emma, go to the office and get Mrs. Chen. Everyone else sit quietly at your desks. Now, please." The students scrambled to obey, some of them looking frightened, others whispering urgently to each other. Within seconds, Marcus had returned with Mr. Patterson, who took one look at the situation and immediately took over managing the class, while Miss Harper focused on Lily. The little girl was sobbing into Miss Harper's shoulder, her whole body trembling, words tumbling out between gasping breaths. "Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Please don't tell my dad. He'll be so angry. I wasn't supposed to sit. I know I wasn't supposed to sit. He said I had to learn, had to get it right, had to have perfect posture. "I tried, Miss Harper. I tried so hard, but I kept doing it wrong, and he said I needed to learn, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Mrs. Chen rushed into the room, immediately kneeling beside the teacher and the hysterical child. "What happened?" She sat down and screamed in pain. "Sandra, we need to get her to the nurse right now. Something is very wrong." Between them, the two women carefully helped Lily to her feet, supporting most of her weight. The girl was still crying, still apologizing, still begging them not to tell her father. Mr. Patterson had corralled the other students at their desks and was speaking to them in low, calm tones, trying to normalize the situation and redirect their attention. But Ms. Harper could see the shock and confusion on their young faces. They'd just witnessed something no child should see, one of their classmates in obvious, severe pain. The walk to the nurse's office felt endless. Lily could barely walk, each step bringing fresh whimpers of pain. Ms. Harper kept up a steady stream of comforting words, promising the child she was safe, that they were going to help her, that everything would be okay. But inside, the teacher's mind was racing with horrifying possibilities. What had been done to this little girl? What kind of injuries could cause such excruciating pain from simply sitting down? Nurse Patricia Williams took one look at the sobbing child being supported by two adults and immediately cleared her office, ushering them into the private examination room in the back. She'd been the school nurse at Riverside Elementary for 15 years and had seen plenty of injuries, both accidental and otherwise. Her face remained professionally calm, but Ms. Harper saw the concern in her eyes as she helped Lily onto the examination table. "Lily, sweetheart, I'm Nurse Patricia. I'm going to help you feel better, okay? But I need to see where it hurts. Can you tell me what happened?" The girl was crying too hard to answer coherently. Mrs. Chen stepped forward, taking one of Lily's small hands in hers. "Lily, honey, we know you're scared, but Nurse Patricia needs to help you. We need to see why sitting hurt you so badly. Can you let us look?" No, please," Lily begged, clutching at her uniform skirt. "You can't see. You can't tell anyone." "My dad will know. He'll know I told. He said if anyone ever saw, if anyone ever found out, it would be my fault that I was the one who couldn't learn properly." The three adults exchanged glances, each of them now certain of what they were dealing with. This was abuse, clear and undeniable. The only question was how bad it was. Nurse Patricia's voice remained calm and soothing, despite the growing knot of dread in her stomach. "Lily, I promise you that you are not in trouble. Nothing that's happened is your fault, but I need to examine you to make sure you're okay and to help make the pain stop. Your teachers are going to stay right here with you. You're safe. Do you understand? You're safe now." The word "now" seemed to penetrate through Lily's panic. The child's sobs began to slow, though tears continued streaming down her flushed cheeks. She looked at Ms. Harper, then at Mrs. Chen, then at the nurse, searching their faces for something, reassurance perhaps, or permission to finally stop hiding. "It hurts so much," she whispered. "It's been hurting for so long." "I know, sweetheart. Let me help you." Nurse Patricia pulled on a pair of medical gloves, her movements deliberate and professional. "I'm going to need to lift your uniform and look at your back and your bottom. Is that okay? I'll be very gentle." Lily hesitated, then gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. Ms. Harper moved to stand where the child could see her face, maintaining eye contact, offering what comfort she could with her presence. Mrs. Chen stayed on the other side, still holding Lily's hand. The nurse carefully lifted the back of the girl's uniform jumper and the shirt beneath it. What she saw made her gasp audibly before she could stop herself. Ms. Harper, from her position, could see Nurse Patricia's face go pale, saw her hands begin to shake slightly as she gently lowered the clothing back down. The nurse's eyes met Ms. Harper's over Lily's head, and the teacher saw something in that gaze that made her blood run cold, horror mixed with rage and professional determination. "Mrs. Chen," Nurse Patricia said, her voice carefully controlled, "I need you to call 911 immediately. Tell them we need paramedics for a child with serious injuries. Then call the principal and tell her to get here now. Ms. Harper, stay with Lily. Lily, honey, I'm going to give you something for the pain. And then some very nice people are going to come help you. You did the right thing letting me look. You are so brave." Mrs. Chen released Lily's hand reluctantly and stepped out of the examination room, pulling out her cell phone. Through the partially open door, Ms. Harper could hear her speaking urgently, first to emergency services, then to the principal's office. The teacher moved closer to Lily, gently smoothing the girl's hair back from her tear-stained face. "What did you see?" Ms. Harper asked the nurse quietly, though part of her wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Nurse Patricia was preparing a dose of children's pain medication, her hands now steady with professional routine. Extensive bruising in various stages of healing, from fresh to weeks old. Deep welts, some that have scabbed over, some more recent. What appear to be burn marks, linear marks consistent with being struck repeatedly with an object, probably a belt or stick. This isn't an accident or a one-time incident. This is prolonged, systematic abuse. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word before she steadied herself. "I've been a nurse for 23 years. I've seen a lot of things. But this is one of the worst cases I've encountered in a school setting." Ms. Harper felt tears prick her own eyes, but she blinked them back. She needed to be strong for Lily right now. "How long, Lily?" she asked gently. "How long has this been happening?" The little girl accepted the pain medication from the nurse, swallowing it obediently. "I don't know. A long time. After Mommy died, Daddy started getting really strict about rules. He said he had to teach me proper discipline. That Mommy had been too soft with me, and that's why I was clumsy and sloppy and never did things right. At first, it was just yelling. Then he started making me practice things over and over, like sitting at the dinner table with perfect posture for hours. If I slouched or moved wrong, he'd hit me. Then it got worse. Worse how, sweetheart?" Mrs. Chen had returned and was standing in the doorway, listening to the child's confession with barely concealed fury on her normally calm face. "He said sitting wrong showed disrespect. He said I needed to learn the right way, so he made me practice every night after dinner. I had to sit perfectly straight at the kitchen table for as long as he said. Sometimes it was an hour, sometimes 3 hours. If I moved wrong, or if my back curved, or if I rested my elbows on the table, he'd hit me with his belt. Sometimes his hand, sometimes this wooden stick he keeps in the kitchen drawer." Lily's voice had taken on a flat, emotionless quality as she recounted the abuse, as if she were describing something that had happened to someone else. "Last week I accidentally shifted my weight, and he said that showed I hadn't learned anything. He made me practice for 4 hours. When I cried, he hit me harder. Said crying was for babies, and I needed to be tough. That night it hurt so bad I couldn't sleep. That's when I decided I'd just stand at school instead. If I didn't sit, it wouldn't hurt as much. And if I didn't sit, I couldn't get in trouble for sitting wrong." The room was silent except for the faint sounds of school life continuing beyond the nurse's office. Children's voices in distant hallways, the bell ringing for a class change. The normalcy of those sounds felt obscene in contrast to the horror of what Lily had just described. A 7-year-old child had been systematically tortured in the name of discipline, beaten for the crime of being a child who couldn't maintain perfect posture for hours on end, and she'd hidden it, borne it alone, adapted her entire life around avoiding the pain, because she'd been taught that this was normal, that she deserved it, that it was her fault for not learning properly. Principal Margaret Hoffman burst into the nurse's office, her usually composed demeanor shaken. "The paramedics are 2 minutes out. I've contacted the district office and our legal counsel. Mrs. Chen, you'll need to make an immediate report to CPS. Ms. Harper, I'll need a written statement from you about everything you observed. Nurse Patricia, document everything medically. And everyone, we say nothing to the father until authorities are present. Is that clear?" They all nodded. Principal Hoffman's take-charge attitude helped ground everyone, giving them clear tasks to focus on rather than drowning in the emotional weight of the situation. The principal approached Lily, her stern expression softening. "Lily, I'm Mrs. Hoffman, the principal. You've been so brave today. The people coming to help you are going to take very good care of you. I'm going to make sure you're safe. Do you understand? No one is going to hurt you anymore." The sound of sirens grew louder, then cut off abruptly as emergency vehicles arrived in the school's front circle. Within moments, 2 paramedics entered the nurse's office, a man and a woman, both carrying medical kits. Nurse Patricia quickly briefed them on the situation, while Ms. Harper explained to Lily that these were the helpers she'd mentioned, that they were going to check her injuries and take her somewhere safe. The female paramedic, whose name tag read Rodriguez, knelt beside the examination table. "Hi, Lily. I'm Maria. My partner is Jake. We're going to take you to the hospital so doctors can make sure you're healing properly and give you better medicine for the pain. Is it okay if I do a quick check of your injuries here? I promise to be as gentle as possible." Lily looked at Ms. Harper, who nodded encouragingly. "It's okay, sweetie. Let them help." With infinite care, Maria examined Lily's back, buttocks, and upper thighs, documenting what she saw with photographs per protocol for suspected abuse cases. Jake quietly asked Nurse Patricia questions about when the injuries were discovered and what the child had disclosed. The examination took only a few minutes, but to everyone watching it felt like hours. The paramedics' professional masks slipped occasionally, revealing flashes of anger and sympathy at what they were seeing. "Okay, Lily, we're all done with the examination here," Maria said, carefully helping the girl into a more comfortable position. "We're going to transport you to Children's Hospital. They have doctors who specialize in helping kids, and they're going to take very good care of you. Miss Harper, is it possible for you to ride with us? Having a familiar face might help keep Lily calm." Miss Harper looked at Principal Hoffman, who nodded immediately. "Absolutely. Go with her. I'll handle your class and everything else here. Mrs. Chen is calling CPS right now, and the police will need to be notified as well for the criminal investigation." "The police?" Lily's voice rose in panic again. "Are they going to arrest my dad? Where will I go? I don't have anyone else." Mrs. Chen crouched down so she was eye level with the frightened child. "Lily, you have lots of people. You have an aunt, don't you? Maria, she came to your school concert last year. I remember you introduced me to her." Lily nodded slowly. "Aunt Maria. She's my mom's sister. She lives across town. But my dad doesn't like her. He says she asks too many questions and sticks her nose where it doesn't belong. Well, I think Aunt Maria is going to want to know about this. And she's going to want to help you. The people from Child Protective Services will contact her. They're going to make sure you have a safe place to stay while all of this gets sorted out, okay?" The paramedics prepared to move Lily to the ambulance. They'd brought a specially designed stretcher that allowed her to lie on her side to avoid putting pressure on her injuries. As they wheeled her through the school hallways, staff members who happened to be in the corridor stopped and stared, their expressions shifting from curiosity to concern as they took in the sight of a small child on a stretcher, her second-grade teacher walking alongside holding her hand. In the ambulance, Ms. Harper sat where Lily could see her while the paramedics monitored vitals and kept up a steady stream of calm, reassuring conversation. The teacher held the girl's hand, offering what comfort she could as the vehicle navigated through afternoon traffic toward Children's Hospital. "Miss Harper." Lily's voice was small, almost lost in the ambient noise of the moving ambulance. "Yes, sweetheart." "Am I in trouble for telling? My dad always said that family business stays in the family, that telling people outside the family about punishments was tattling and would make everything worse." Ms. Harper felt her throat tighten with emotion. "No, baby, you are not in trouble, not even a little bit. What your dad did to you wasn't punishment. It was hurting you, really hurting you, and that's never okay. You were right to tell us, even though I know it was scary. You probably saved yourself from getting hurt even worse. Will I ever get to go home again?" It was the question Ms. Harper had been dreading, because she didn't have a good answer. "I don't know exactly what's going to happen, Lily, but I know that a lot of people, good people, are working right now to make sure you're safe and taken care of. Your Aunt Maria, the people from CPS, the doctors, the police, they're all going to work together to figure out what's best for you. And I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay with you at the hospital as long as they'll let me, and I'm going to check on you every single day until you're settled somewhere safe. You're not alone in this." Lily's grip on her teacher's hand tightened. "I'm scared." "I know you are. Being scared is okay. But you're also incredibly brave. Do you know that? Most kids wouldn't have been able to tell us what was happening. You were so strong, Lily. Your mom would be so proud of you." At the mention of her mother, fresh tears spilled down Lily's cheeks. "I miss my mommy. She never hurt me. She used to sing to me when I was sad and make funny faces to make me laugh. After she died, everything changed. Daddy changed. He was sad all the time, and then he was angry all the time, and then he started saying I needed more discipline. I tried to be good, Ms. Harper. I tried so hard to be good so he wouldn't be angry anymore. Oh, sweetheart, none of this is your fault. You hear me? Not one bit of it. You were good. You are good. Your dad's choices, the things he did to you, those were his choices and his fault. Not yours." The ambulance pulled up to the emergency entrance of Children's Hospital, and the back doors swung open. Medical staff were already waiting, having been radioed ahead about the incoming patient. A doctor in purple scrubs with teddy bears on them approached the stretcher as the paramedics unloaded it. "Hello, Lily. I'm Dr. Sarah Kim. These wonderful people told me you're having some pain, and we're going to help you feel better. Ms. Harper, are you a parent or guardian?" "I'm her teacher. The school sent me with her. CPS has been notified, and they should be sending someone." "Good. We'll need parental consent for treatment, but given the nature of the injuries and the suspected abuse, we can proceed with emergency care. Lily, we're going to take you to a special room where we can examine you more thoroughly and get you some stronger pain medicine. Ms. Harper can come with you if you'd like." Lily nodded vigorously, not willing to let go of her teacher's hand. They moved through the bustling emergency department to a private examination room designed for pediatric patients, with cheerful murals on the walls and stuffed animals on a shelf. But no amount of cheerful decoration could mask the serious nature of what was happening. Over the next 2 hours, Lily underwent a thorough medical examination by Dr. Kim and a nurse who specialized in forensic evidence collection for abuse cases. Every injury was photographed, measured, documented. Ms. Harper stayed in the room the entire time, positioned where Lily could see her, talking to the child about anything and everything except what was happening. She told stories about funny things that had happened in class, described the new book the class was reading together, talked about an upcoming field trip to the Science Museum. Anything to help Lily focus on something other than the painful examination. The injuries, Dr. Kim explained to Ms. Harper when Lily was briefly out of earshot getting x-rays, were extensive. Multiple contusions in various stages of healing, indicating repeated trauma over several weeks or possibly months. Linear abrasions consistent with being struck with a belt or similar object. Several burns that appeared to have been inflicted by a hot object, possibly the end of a cigarette or lighter. Most concerning were signs that some of the deeper injuries might have caused muscle damage. The child would need significant medical care and probably physical therapy as she healed. "Will she be okay?" Ms. Harper asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Physically, yes, she should recover fully. Children are remarkably resilient. The bruising will fade, the cuts will heal. But emotionally, psychologically, that's a different question. She's going to need therapy, probably for years. Abuse like this doesn't just hurt the body, it damages the mind, the sense of safety and trust. She's going to need a lot of support." A social worker from Child Protective Services arrived around 5 o'clock. Her name was Jennifer Walsh, a woman in her mid-40s with kind eyes and an air of competent authority. She spoke with the medical staff first, reviewing their findings and documentation. Then she came to speak with Lily, who had been given stronger pain medication and was finally resting more comfortably, though still unwilling to sit despite the hospital bed being adjusted to support her in a partially reclined position. "Hi, Lily. My name is Jennifer. I work for an agency that helps kids who are in difficult situations. I've been talking to the doctors and to your teachers, and I want you to know that everyone is working very hard to keep you safe. I need to ask you some questions about what happened at home. Is that okay?" Lily looked exhausted, dark circles heavy under her eyes, but she nodded. "I already told them everything. Do I have to say it again?" "I know it's hard to talk about, sweetie, but I need to hear it from you directly so I can do my job and help you. Let's start easy. Can you tell me who you live with?" "Just my dad. My mom died 3 years ago." "Do you have any other family? Grandparents, aunts, uncles?" "My Aunt Maria. She's my mom's sister, and I have grandparents on my mom's side, but they live far away in Texas. My dad's parents died before I was born." "Okay, good. Now, I know you told the nurse and your teacher about your dad hurting you. Can you tell me how long that's been happening?" Lily took a shaky breath. "I think it started about a year after my mom died. That's when he started getting really strict about rules. At first, it was just timeouts and losing privileges like TV time. Then he started spanking me when I broke rules. Then it got worse." "How did it get worse, honey?" The child recounted the escalation again, how punishments became longer and more severe, how her father's focus on posture and proper sitting became an obsession, how the beatings increased in frequency and intensity. Jennifer took detailed notes, stopping occasionally to clarify details or ask follow-up questions. Ms. Harper sat nearby, her heart breaking anew as she heard the full extent of what Lily had endured. "Did your dad ever say why he was doing these things?" Jennifer asked. "He said he was teaching me, that the world was hard and cruel, and I needed to learn discipline and respect, that my mom had spoiled me and made me soft, and it was his job to make me strong. He said that the pain would teach me lessons I'd never forget, that one day I'd thank him for making me tough enough to survive. Did anyone else know this was happening? Did you ever try to tell anyone?" Lily shook her head. "He said if I told anyone, they wouldn't believe me, that teachers and other adults would think I was lying or exaggerating because kids always try to get out of being punished. He said if anyone found out, they might take me away and put me somewhere worse, like a foster home where I didn't know anyone, and might get hurt even more. So I didn't tell. I just tried to be better, to do things right, so he wouldn't get angry." Jennifer's expression remained professionally neutral, but Ms. Harper could see the anger simmering beneath the surface. "Lily, I want you to know that none of what your dad told you was true. What he did to you wasn't teaching or discipline, it was abuse, and you were incredibly brave to finally tell people what was happening. You did exactly the right thing. What's going to happen to me now? The fear in Lily's voice was palpable. Well, first, you're going to stay here in the hospital for at least tonight, maybe a couple of days, while the doctors make sure all your injuries are being properly treated. During that time, I'm going to contact your Aunt Maria and see if she can take care of you temporarily. If she can't, or if there are any problems with that arrangement, we'll find you a safe foster home with people who are trained to help kids who've been through what you've been through. Either way, you won't be going back to your dad's house. Not right now, and probably not for a very long time, if ever. Will my dad go to jail? That's up to the police and the court system. But yes, probably. What he did to you is very serious and against the law. The police are going to want to talk to you too, probably tomorrow after you've had some rest. They'll ask you similar questions to what I've asked, and they might want to take more pictures of your injuries. Is that okay? Lily nodded slowly, processing all of this information. Can Ms. Harper stay with me? Jennifer looked at the teacher. I can stay until visiting hours end at 8, Ms. Harper said, but then I have to go home. I'll come back tomorrow, though, I promise, and I'll bring some of your schoolwork so you don't fall behind and maybe some books you like. Actually, Jennifer interjected, given the circumstances and the child's clear attachment to you, we might be able to arrange for you to stay longer if you're willing. Sometimes having a familiar, trusted adult present helps children feel safer during this kind of traumatic transition. Would that be something you'd be interested in? Ms. B. Harper didn't hesitate. Absolutely. I'll stay as long as I'm allowed and as long as Lily wants me here. The relief on Lily's face was immediate and profound. For the first time since the ordeal began, some of the tension seemed to ease from her small body. She reached for Ms. Harper's hand again, holding it like a lifeline. By 7 o'clock, arrangements had been made. Ms. Harper had called her husband to explain the situation, and he'd understood completely, even offering to bring her a change of clothes and some food. Jennifer had contacted Lily's Aunt Maria, who was on her way to the hospital, frantic with worry and fury at her brother-in-law. The police had been notified and were coordinating with CPS for the investigation, and somewhere across town, officers were preparing to visit Martin Martinez's home to conduct a welfare check and, if evidence supported it, make an arrest. Aunt Maria arrived at 7:30, rushing into the hospital room with tears streaming down her face. She was in her early 30s, with the same dark eyes as Lily and her late sister, wearing scrubs that suggested she'd come directly from work. Oh my God, Lily, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't know. I should have known something was wrong. Lily's face crumpled at the sight of her aunt, and she began crying again, reaching out with her free hand. Maria carefully gathered her niece into a gentle hug, mindful of the injuries, sobbing apologies and reassurances into the girl's hair. Miss Harper stepped back to give them space, watching the reunion with her own tears finally spilling over. I tried to visit more, Maria was saying, her voice thick with emotion and guilt. But Martin always made it so difficult. He'd say you were busy with school or tired or being punished for something and couldn't have visitors. I thought he was just being overprotective, you know, after losing my sister. I never thought he would... She couldn't finish the sentence, overcome with emotion. Jennifer gave them a few minutes together before gently interrupting to explain the situation and the next steps. Maria would need to undergo a background check and home evaluation before Lily could be officially placed in her care. But given their family relationship and the urgent circumstances, Jennifer was confident she could arrange for temporary emergency placement within a day or two. In the meantime, Lily would remain hospitalized under CPS supervision. I have a spare bedroom, Maria said eagerly. I've been saving it, actually, hoping that maybe someday Martin would let Lily come stay with me for weekends or summer breaks. It's already set up with a bed and everything. I can take time off work. I have vacation days saved up. Whatever she needs, I'll do it. I'll take care of her the way my sister would have wanted. The relief in the room was palpable. Lily would have family to go to, someone who loved her and wanted her, not a stranger's foster home. It wasn't a solution to all the trauma she'd endured, but it was a start, a foundation upon which healing could begin. Around 8:30, Miss Harper's husband arrived with a bag of her belongings and some dinner. He introduced himself to everyone, shook Maria's hand, and pulled his wife aside for a moment. "You're doing a good thing, Rebecca. Stay as long as you need to. I've got everything at home covered." "Thank you," she whispered, hugging him tightly. "I just keep thinking about what might have happened if I hadn't pushed her to sit today. What if I'd let it go for another week, another month? How much worse might it have gotten? But you didn't let it go. You noticed, you cared, and you acted. That little girl in there is safe because of you." The evening wore on. Lily finally fell into an exhausted sleep around 9 o'clock, her small hand still clutching Miss Harper's, even in unconsciousness. Maria sat on the other side of the bed, gently stroking her niece's hair, keeping vigil. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors and the distant sounds of hospital activity. Jennifer returned around 10 with an update. The police had gone to Martin Martinez's residence and found him home. When informed of why they were there, he'd initially denied everything, claiming his daughter was lying for attention or because she was angry about being disciplined for legitimate misbehavior. But when officers requested to search the home, they'd found the wooden stick Lily had described in a kitchen drawer, along with a belt that showed traces of blood on the leather. Martinez had been arrested on charges of child abuse and assault. He was currently being held pending arraignment. "What happens now with the legal case?" Miss Harper asked quietly, careful not to wake Lily. "There'll be a criminal trial," Jennifer explained. "Lily will likely have to testify, though the DA will try to minimize how traumatic that is for her. They'll use the medical evidence, photographs, her recorded statements, and physical evidence from the home. Given the severity and documentation of the abuse, the prosecutor feels very confident about getting a conviction. Martinez is looking at significant prison time." Maria's face was hard, anger simmering beneath her grief. "Good. I hope they lock him up for years. My sister loved that man, trusted him with their daughter. If she could see what he did, what he became—" She trailed off, shaking her head. "I'm going to make sure Lily gets every bit of help she needs. Therapy, medical care, whatever it takes for her to heal from this." Over the next few hours, the three women took turns keeping watch over the sleeping child. They talked quietly about Lily's interests. Her personality before the abuse had changed her, the vibrant little girl she'd been when her mother was alive. Maria shared memories of her sister, of family gatherings and holidays when Lily had been a bright, giggly child who loved to dance and sing. Miss Harper talked about seeing glimpses of that spirit in the classroom, moments when Lily would forget to be guarded and would laugh at a joke or get excited about a story. "She's still in there," Miss Harper said, "that bright little girl. She's just been buried under fear and pain. But with love and support and time, I believe she can find her way back." Thursday morning brought new activity. A detective came to interview Lily more thoroughly, using gentle questioning techniques and recording everything for the case file. The child was nervous but cooperative, answering questions about specific incidents, the frequency of abuse, whether her father had ever hurt her in other ways. It was difficult for everyone to hear, but necessary for building the legal case. Dr. Kim conducted rounds and reported that Lily's injuries were healing as expected. She'd need follow-up care, but could likely be discharged in another day or two. Physical therapy would be recommended to address any muscle damage and help rebuild her strength and confidence in movement without pain. By afternoon, the CPS home evaluation of Maria's apartment was complete and approved. The agency expedited the process given the circumstances, and Jennifer arrived with good news. "Maria, you're approved for emergency placement. Lily can come home with you as soon as the hospital discharges her." Both Maria and Lily cried at the news. Relief and joy mixing with the residual trauma of the past 24 hours. It wasn't a permanent solution yet. There would be court hearings and more evaluations and legal proceedings. But it was a safe harbor in the storm, a place where Lily could begin to heal. Ms. Harper prepared to return to school that afternoon, knowing her class and her job were waiting. Before she left, she sat with Lily one more time. "I have to go back to teaching, sweetheart, but I meant what I said. I'm going to check on you every day. I'll call your aunt, I'll visit when I can, and as soon as you're feeling up to it, you can come back to class. Your friends miss you, and there's a place waiting for you at your desk whenever you're ready." "Thank you, Ms. Harper," Lily said, her voice still small but stronger than it had been. "Thank you for noticing. Thank you for not letting me keep standing. I know it hurt really bad when you made me sit, but I think maybe you saved me." The teacher hugged her gently, tears streaming freely now. "You saved yourself, Lily. You were brave enough to let the truth come out. I just helped open the door. You walked through it." Returning to school felt surreal. Ms. Harper walked into her classroom on Friday morning to find cards and drawings from her students covering her desk. "Get well soon, Lily," and "We miss you," and crayon drawings of flowers and hearts. The children had questions, of course, carefully deflected by their teacher and the counselor who came in to help process what they'd witnessed. They explained, in age-appropriate terms, that sometimes adults hurt children in ways that aren't okay, and that when that happens, other adults step in to help and keep the child safe. They reassured the class that Lily would be okay, that she had good people taking care of her, and that she'd return to class when she was feeling better. Over the following weeks, a lot happened very quickly. Martin Martinez was indicted on multiple counts of child abuse and assault. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and his court-appointed attorney advised him to accept a plea deal. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for at least 10 years. Maria was awarded full custody of Lily after a brief court proceeding where the judge heard testimony about the abuse and the child's wishes. Lily began therapy with a specialist in childhood trauma, attending sessions twice a week to work through what she'd experienced. And slowly, gradually, Lily began to heal. She returned to school 3 weeks after the incident, nervous and uncertain. Ms. Harper and Mrs. Chen had prepared her classmates, teaching them about being supportive without overwhelming Lily with questions. That first day back, Lily walked into the classroom and found her desk decorated with a welcome back banner and a small stuffed unicorn from her classmates. She smiled, the first genuine smile Miss Harper had seen in weeks, and carefully took her seat. She sat down without wincing, without crying out, without fear. It was such a simple thing, something every other child in the room did without thinking. But for Lily and for Miss Harper, it was a moment of profound victory. The little girl sat at her desk, picked up her pencil, and began working on the math worksheet that had been prepared for her. Surrounded by classmates who welcomed her back with casual, supportive normalcy. In the months that followed, Lily's progress was remarkable. The physical wounds healed, leaving scars that would fade with time. The emotional wounds took longer, manifesting in nightmares, anxiety around authority figures, and moments of regression when stress became too much. But with therapy, with Maria's patient love and support, and with the structured safety of school and Ms. Harper's classroom, she began to flourish. The quiet, guarded child started to open up, to laugh, to make friends, to participate enthusiastically in class activities. One afternoon, 6 months after the incident, Lily stayed after class to help Miss Harper organize books in the reading corner. As they worked, the girl spoke quietly. "Miss Harper, I've been thinking about what happened, about that day you made me sit down even though I was scared. I was really mad at you at first, you know. In the hospital, I kept thinking that if you'd just left me alone, none of this would have happened." Miss Harper stopped what she was doing, giving Lily her full attention. "What do you think now?" "Now I think you saved my life. Maybe not literally, but kind of. Because things were getting worse at home. He was getting angrier, and the punishments were getting longer and more painful. I don't know how much longer I could have kept going like that. Maybe eventually I would have told someone, but maybe not. Maybe I would have just kept trying to be perfect and kept getting hurt when I failed. But you didn't let me keep hiding. You pushed when it was scary to push. And you stayed with me when I was scared. You made sure I was safe. I think that's what teachers are supposed to do, right? Keep kids safe." Miss Harper's eyes filled with tears for what felt like the millionth time in 6 months. "Yes, sweetie, that's exactly what teachers are supposed to do. And you know what? I learned something from you, too." "What?" "I learned that sometimes the quietest students, the ones who seem like they're doing fine, the ones who never cause trouble or ask for help, sometimes those are the ones who need us most. I learned to look closer, to pay attention to small changes in behavior, to trust my instincts when something doesn't feel right. You taught me to be a better teacher, Lily." The girl smiled, that bright, genuine smile that had become more frequent as the months passed. "I guess we helped each other then. I guess we did." As the school year ended and summer approached, Lily's transformation was complete enough that casual observers who hadn't known her before would never guess what she'd been through. She was active, engaged, making plans with friends for summer activities. Maria was working on enrolling her in a day camp where she could swim and do art projects and just be a kid without the shadow of trauma hanging over every moment. The legal case was closed, Martin Martinez was in prison, and Lily was thriving in her aunt's care. The adoption process was underway, Maria filing papers to formally adopt her niece and become her legal mother in every sense. Lily had started calling her Aunt Mom, a sweet compromise that honored both their relationship and Maria's new role in her life. On the last day of school, as students ran out to waiting parents with report cards and summer reading lists, Lily hung back. She approached Ms. Harper's desk with a card she'd made, construction paper covered in glitter and stickers, and her careful second-grade handwriting. Inside it read, "Thank you for noticing me. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being brave when I couldn't be. You're the best teacher ever. Love, Lily." Miss Harper hugged her student, this brave, resilient little girl who had survived so much and come out the other side still capable of love and trust and hope. "You're going to do amazing things, Lily Martinez. I just know it, and I'll be cheering you on every step of the way." As Lily skipped out to where Maria waited in the pickup line, Ms. Harper reflected on everything that had happened. It had started with something so simple, so small. A child standing when she should have been sitting, a teacher who noticed and cared enough to ask why. And from that small beginning, a life had been saved, a child had been rescued from ongoing abuse, and healing had begun. The experience had changed Ms. Harper, too. She looked at all her students differently now, more carefully, more attentively. She'd implemented new protocols for herself, checking in more regularly with quiet kids, documenting concerning behaviors more thoroughly, trusting her instincts when something felt off. She'd shared Lily's story with permission and with identifying details changed. At teacher training sessions, helping other educators understand the importance of noticing small signs, of asking difficult questions, of acting on concerns rather than dismissing them. Because the truth was, there were other children like Lily out there. Children hiding pain, bearing abuse in silence, adapting their lives around trauma, while adults around them remained oblivious. And every single one of those children deserved someone who would notice, someone who would care enough to push, even when it was uncomfortable, someone who would stand between them and harm and refuse to back down until they were safe. As Ms. Harper packed up her classroom for the summer, putting away books and art supplies and the countless papers that accumulated over a school year, she paused at Lily's card, reading it again. "Thank you for noticing me." Such simple words, such a simple request. All children really wanted was to be seen, truly seen, by the adults in their lives. To be noticed, valued, protected, believed. The story of a little girl who kept standing had become a story of survival, of courage, of the power of paying attention to what others might dismiss as insignificant. It was a reminder that sometimes the smallest behavioral changes could be desperate cries for help, that children were often forced to communicate their pain in indirect ways because they'd been taught that direct disclosure was impossible or dangerous. Most importantly, it was a reminder that one caring adult could make all the difference. One teacher who noticed, one nurse who acted, one counselor who believed, one aunt who loved without reservation, one social worker who fought for a child's safety, one doctor who documented everything carefully, one police officer who investigated thoroughly, one prosecutor who sought justice. Together, all these adults had formed a safety net that caught Lily before she fell too far, before the abuse could cause permanent damage, before her spirit could be completely broken. And now, as summer sunshine streamed through the classroom windows and children's laughter echoed in the hallways one last time before vacation, there was hope. Hope that Lily would continue healing, continue growing, continue rediscovering the joy and wonder that should characterize childhood. Hope that the lessons learned from her case would help other children as teachers and administrators and community members became more vigilant, more willing to act on concerns, more committed to child safety. If you've stayed with us through Lily's story, we want to thank you. Stories like this are difficult to hear, but they're important. They remind us why we must always be vigilant, why we must trust our instincts when something seems wrong, why we must be willing to act even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share it with teachers, parents, and anyone who works with children. Leave a comment about what you learned or how this story impacted you. And most importantly, if you ever suspect a child is being abused, don't stay silent. Report it to authorities. Make the call. Ask the difficult questions. Be the person who notices. Because somewhere right now, there's another child standing when they should be sitting, hiding pain behind careful smiles, bearing burdens no child should carry. And that child is desperately hoping that someone, anyone, will notice, will care, will act, will be brave enough to ask why and persistent enough to uncover the truth. Be that person. Notice the children in your life. Really notice them. Pay attention to changes in behavior, to unexplained injuries, to fear and anxiety that seems disproportionate. Trust your instincts. And when those instincts tell you something is wrong, don't ignore them. Don't convince yourself you're overreacting or being paranoid. Don't worry about offending parents or causing trouble. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is the safety and well-being of the child. Everything else, all the discomfort and difficulty and complexity that comes with reporting suspected abuse, is secondary to that fundamental truth. Children depend on adults to keep them safe. They depend on us to notice, to care, to act, We cannot, we must not let them down. Lily's story had a happy ending because people chose to act. Your awareness, your willingness to notice and report, could write another happy ending for another child. Together, we can create a world where every child is safe, where abuse is caught early, where suffering is not endured in silence. It starts with simply paying attention, with caring enough to look beyond the surface, with being brave enough to act when action is needed. Thank you for watching, for caring, for being willing to hear this difficult but important story. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and never underestimate the difference one observant, caring adult can make in a child's life.